What up, good people? I had a good day. Good day. And I hope today has been a good day for you. But I wanted to come and share something with y'all. Um, Hopefully, it's a word of encouragement for you. Hopefully. Um, Hold on. Let me get my Bible. I mean, not my Bible, but my handy dandy notebook. I just had to finish something crazy because being stalked, all types of interesting things happen to you because demons don't seem to get tired. But hey, some of us don't get it. Some of us don't either. So I wanted to come give a word of encouragement real quick. All right, so what I'm going to be talking about is hidden figures. And I don't know if any of y'all saw the movie Hidden Figures. But it was a pretty good movie. I saw the movie, came out a while ago, but the premise of the movie was basically talking about how there were, and I hope you can hear me. If you cannot, I mean, you see and hear me all day, so I don't know what to tell you. But if you can't hear me, y'all know I'm hacked and the people mess with my phone and it'll start off clear and it'll end up fuzzy by the time they post it to, um, by the time it gets actually uploaded on YouTube. So none of my doing. I don't need or care for a filter, even though people, I'm delivered from people. I'm claiming it. Listen, we're talking about Hidden Figures, okay? All right. So in the movie Hidden Figures, there were three women who were basically the brains of the movie, right? But they were the brains in the background, right? They were the three women who basically kept the ship running, right? Who kept the plane or whatever functioning. It was because of their intellect, because of their hard work, because of who they were in the background. Even though during the time that they were working in this movie, they were not able to be necessarily in the forefront because of just old and outdated mindsets, right? Old and outdated systems. And a lot of us realize that that's what we're seeing and experiencing right now, right? There is an outdated system that is not working anymore for multiple reasons, right? One, people have realized that the system this entire time has been ran a mess and it's been a facade. And for some people, that may be hard to process because, well, in a sense, when you really sit and think about it, the workers are the hidden figures. Track with me. The workers of society are the hidden figures. Okay. I was reading in my word the other day and I was reading about Elisha, I believe. But Elisha had helped a lady who her husband had died and they were coming to collect his debt, right? He owed all of this debt before he left, and the wife had a child or whatever, and she was trying to figure out how she was going to pay for her husband's debt because the husband was not able to pay it before he died, right? And so Elisha asked her, "What do you have?" And she basically told him, "I just have this oil." So Elisha told her to ask her neighbors. Elijah told her to ask her neighbors for their empty jars, and he told her to pour the oil until she was able to fill all of the jars that she collected. Now once she completed filling all the jars, the oil stopped pouring. Now mind you, she just had one bottle of oil, right? She just had that one bottle of oil. That was it. And Elijah told her to pour the oil until you fill up all the jars. She filled up all of these jars with that one bottle of oil. And so when I read that, I immediately thought about a few different things. But one of the things that stuck out to me the most is that oftentimes we hear all of these different stories or narrations, not only just in life, but even when it comes to church sometimes, right? Sometimes you'll hear the same stories over and over again. It's just a different revelation from different people. Or sometimes it's literally the same story because maybe God wants you to hear it again. Or some people are just not creative. I'll say that. I won't even say creative, but some people are just sticky fingers and thieves, okay? But nonetheless, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about hidden figures, right? And in this story, right, typically you hear about the woman pouring the oil, and you hear about Elisha telling her to use what she had, which was just that bottle of oil. But you don't ever hear about the hidden figures in the different stories of the Bible, right? In this particular story, the hidden figure was her neighbors. Right now, the world is going through a change and it feels uncomfortable. Some people are at the space where they feel numb, and I know exactly what that feels like, to be numb towards something, because it's just one, so much going on. Sometimes you feel like there's nobody else that understands what you are able to understand. Sometimes it's just like you've gotten to the point where you understand, but you don't have the capacity to care, because sometimes it feels like it's just you that cares. Even though that may not be the case, right? We know Elijah had that same feeling at one point in the word, right? Where he felt like he was the only prophet left. He wasn't the only prophet, but that's how he felt. He felt like it was just him by himself, because it was just him who had to fight all of the daggone prophets of Baal, right? It was just Elijah. The other prophets wasn't nowhere else around. It was just Elijah having to face all of these 450 prophets of Baal, right? And so in his mind, he felt like it was just him. But in this story of the woman with the oil and Elisha telling her to pour the oil until she filled them up, the hidden figures were her neighbors. A lot of us are trying to figure out, what are we going to do? How are we going to navigate this new space, this new system? And it's going to be with hidden figures. Sometimes literally and sometimes figuratively, right? When we think about all of the things that have come to light, that have been exposed, that have been shared, right? There have been hidden figures. There have been a lot of hidden figures, and they have been doing a lot of hidden and dark things, right? But now they're all out in the light. And it's interesting when you think about the percentage of people who have been doing these things, when you consider the hidden figures that have been even helping these people accomplish these things, right? And that's a whole nother rabbit hole mentally to go down in itself. I don't advise you to do it, but that's a whole nother thing as well, right? But in order for us to navigate this current change or shift that's taking place in the world, that's taking place sometimes literally and figuratively in your homes, is that we have to not only remember that, yes, we might have our own issues going on in the forefront, excuse me, but there are hidden figures that are available to help us at times, right? And sometimes we have to be those hidden figures, right? Sometimes God will have you out of the way for a while because he needs you to be hidden until it's time for you to be of service, to be of use. Sometimes God will have people who have been around you this entire time, and he's kept them hidden from you because he needs them hidden until it's time for them to be utilized in your life, right? We have been hidden figures for this entire system. We've worked, we've built, we've come together, we've put blood, sweat, equity, we've given up time from our families, from our friends, and we have literally built the very system that we have been working under, learning under, teaching under, servicing and helping others under. We, the people, have built it. We have been the hidden figures. We don't always maybe get the praise or the celebration that some of us may desire, right? And some of us may not even desire those things. Some of us may be cool with just being out of the way and doing whatever it is we're called to do, doing whatever it is we're doing, right? But I say all of that to say, the hidden figures in community, right? There are more with us than against us. And sometimes it's easy for us to get in headspaces where we feel like we don't have the capacity, or we don't have the weight, or we don't have the strength. And there is strength in numbers. It was only three of those women in Hidden Figures, but it was three of them, right? What do they call it? Dang, a three-strand cord is unbreakable or whatever. It was only three of those ladies, but they was floating that place, right? It is more with us than against us. Whether you're a believer or not, whether you're in Japan, whether you're in uh, Israel, Gaza, Palestine, Iran, Puerto Rico, Panama, Mexico, Venezuela. I don't know where you're at, where you live, what you do, if you even understand what I'm saying. If you understand, no, I'm playing, but I was about to be serious on that, but I love that movie. Anyway, we are the Hidden Figures. And as easy as it would be to allow the circumstances of this world to weigh you down and to get you down, the community, right? Community is how we're going to get through this. A lot of us will look at the little bit, right? And because there might be a small number that has the majority of a resource, we forget that this entire time we've been the resource, providing the resources for those with the majority of the resources. It's been the Hidden Figures, even though they were a small percentage, or what seemed like a small percentage, they had all of the knowledge, all of the strength, all of the skill, all of the know-how. That's us, the people, we the people. And there are more of us than there are against us. So I know it can be easy sometimes. I know for me personally, right? I'm typically by myself. And I have to wake up every day and deal with people and their kids who sometimes I don't always end up being the bigger person. I try my best to do that. I know tonight I was not the bigger person. I get tired sometimes of people, kids, and the stupid things that they decide they want to do because they want to feel like they're cool, or what they want to impress their little homeboys, or they want to impress their little friends. That's annoying and draining sometimes. And sometimes it's easier to ignore than not. And sometimes it's like, move on. Some people don't know how to do that. They really don't. Some people don't know how to do that. I've had to learn. At one point, it used to be hard for me to do that. It used to take me a long time. Now, who has time to be stuck on something or someone that's not paying no mind? But a lot of people seem to have time for that, sadly. There are a lot of things that may come about, that may not come about. But one thing we as a people have always managed to do is to appreciate and to find community. It can be easy sometimes to look at somebody on their outer appearance and be like, oh, you can't sit with us, or oh, you can't be in community with me, or blah, 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 blah. When you go to work, there are 50 people, whether you have a job at the moment or not. Maybe you've had a job before, right? There are different people from all different backgrounds in that job, right? And all of you have to come together to make that job function and work smoothly, right? Of course, there are some people on your shift and maybe they're not pulling their weight, so you have to do extra, right? But it takes the community, it takes the group to come together to make sure that these companies, to make sure that the restaurants, to make sure that the gyms, to make sure the car, the mechanics, all of these places are running because of we the people. We have the knowledge. We have the resources. Maybe many of you don't have the money right now, but you have the knowledge. You have the intel. You have the intellect. Maybe you don't have a large community. I know I don't. But I know at the same time I do. I know that despite all of these people that I have to encounter who have not yet dealt with their raggedy energy, I'm going to just say it plain, who have not dealt with their raggedy energy, who don't want to take accountability for their raggedy energy, who are perfectly fine with spitting it out, but when they have to look back at it for themselves, oh, it's an issue and they want to spaz out. But they don't have no problem trying to get you to carry their weight, right? They have no problem trying to get you to carry their weight while also trying to step on you while trying to give you their load. But as soon as you tell them to hold up this yours, they got an issue, right? I know some of you have experienced that. I know despite the people who try to do that to me, I see the people out in the world, out on different platforms. Out, I meet people randomly sometimes, and I see the little sparks or the glimmer of hope, even if they're regurgitating something back to me that I done said, because some people do that. But it makes me smile because it knows, it makes me understand and understand. It helps me to see that despite what it may or may not look like, the message is being spread, the impact is being had. The hidden figures, just because they're hidden, just because they may seem like they're smaller in number, sometimes they're the weight of the entire machine. If we get so focused on the fact that the machine looks like it's bigger than the parts that have to make it function, then yeah, that makes you look at things like they're scary, like they're not, like you won't be able to overcome them, like you can't get past this, like you can't get through this. So many people are in that season where they're like, they just don't want to do nothing, and I understand that. I've been there. Sometimes I'm still there. For real, sometimes I'm still there. But guess what? I still get up, I smile, I have the best day that I can have, depending on what's going on or what's taking place. If my body, my spirit, or whatever is telling me to chill or slow down or be still, it's going to get to a place where that's exactly where God wants us, believe it or not. The seventh year is about rest and a reset, just like the seventh day is about rest, being still, singing praises to God, worshiping. That's what the seventh day is for, rest. The seventh year will be no different. God wants us to rest from the work that we've been doing. Some of you are not tired. Some of you are in the place where God is calling you to be still. But if you're still kind of teeter-tottering and you're trying to figure out, well, God, why do I feel this way? Why am I tired? Why do I feel heavy? Or why don't I have energy to do this? God is shifting you. God is trying to get you to see that despite what may appear as if it's collapsing, it's because something new has to be built. Something new has to be born. Sometimes the only way, just like with Nehemiah, sometimes the only way to build a thing is you have to first go in and one, take analysis of what is, right? Because sometimes some people are so stuck on what was, it's hard to appreciate or to realize what is, what's becoming, because you're stuck on what was. Earlier today I was driving, and I talk to myself all the time because I'm by myself. So I mean, why wouldn't I talk to me? I think I have good conversation. I be in here laughing. And no, I'm not crazy. I'm well aware of who I'm well aware I do that. And I'm telling you because I know I'm not crazy. Okay. So if any of these people who be following me and stalking me around and they see me laughing and talking in my car while I'm driving or whatever, yes, I was talking to myself and I was having a good conversation with myself, which is why you see me laughing. I might have been laughing at you if I realized you was taking a picture, just to be honest. But that's neither here or there. I threw that in as a freebie. Yeah, it happens sometimes. But listen, listen. All I'm saying is, God has us in a place sometimes where it's hard to be who you are, right? It's hard to be the I am of today if you're still stuck on who you were then. A lot of people think, I haven't got over my past. I'm waiting on my past to get over me. Let's be clear. I'm waiting on my past to get over me. I'm over it. Over it. I'm focused on trying to do today. Not even tomorrow all the time. Today. Tomorrow will handle itself. Today, right now, being present in the moment. Either I have it or I don't have it. Either I can make it or I can't make it. That's pretty much what it is, right? But I do realize that despite what it looks like, sometimes, oftentimes, it's the hidden figures that have the biggest impact on situations sometimes. Do you realize, and I'm taking it back to Bible real quick, do you realize that if the woman was never able to receive the jars from her neighbors, then maybe she would have never been able to establish or earn what she needed to be able to pay off that debt. And you know she had to have a lot of jars because Elisha told her to use what was left over to provide for herself, right? Provide for her and her child. I think it was her and her son or something like that. If the neighbors would have never had those empty jars, something they would have thrown away if they were not themselves reusing them, right? Maybe she would not have had enough to pay her debt. But just like we're able to give so much to these brands, to these companies, and a lot of them are just laying people off in bulk, right? Some companies are laying people off in bulk. And a lot of people are stressed out and they're worried about what was, and they're not realizing that it's something new, not only that God wants to do in this earth, but it's literally something new that these people are trying to establish in the earth. And they want most people so focused on what was and so stressed out about whether or not they can afford this or whether or not they can do these things anymore, and they want people still focused on trying to keep up with the Joneses instead of realizing that they're trying to build a new system. In order to build it, who do they need to do it? You and people like you. They need community. But on the other hand, some of them don't care. They're just letting everybody go, right? God calls people to do different functions. But in order for the things to function smoothly, everybody has to do their part in the race. If people get so stuck on the fact that there's a race being ran and you get stuck on the fact that you feel like you're behind or you're not where you need to be, you will never make it to the finish line because you're focused on one. You're not focused on your own race, because if you were, you wouldn't realize that you were even behind. Does that make sense? If you were focused on your own race, you would never look at your life and say, I'm behind in comparison to somebody else. You wouldn't need to, because you would be locked in on your race. What does that mean? You could be 75 and starting over. You could be 75 and midway down the track. You could be 25 and almost at the finish line, and something comes and trips you up, and now you a couple miles back. And if you just so happen to look to the side and you see somebody, or you just so happen to look behind you and see where you were, and see that there was someone that was just a little bit further behind you, but because you had a slip up, you're now behind them. If you begin to compare yourself to somebody else, one or two things are going to take place. It's either going to propel you to move forward, or it's going to distract you, and it's going to take you out of the lane that you were supposed to be in the first place, because you're too busy comparing yourself to somebody else. With all of the different changes and things going on in the world, so what if you can't be seen right now? So what if you can't be seen living the life or having the things that you used to at one point? And I'm not saying that for me to come across insensitive, because I know some people really value those type of things, right? You want the attention. You want to be seen. You want to be known for XYZ. That's your prerogative. All I'm saying is sometimes there has to be a pause, or there has to be a release of that, just so you're able to take a step back, to have a better propel forward. Hopefully that makes sense. I've said that before, but hopefully stating it that way makes sense. Sometimes you have to take a step backwards. Sometimes you have to just quit everything. Not because you don't want to do XYZ, not because you don't want to achieve XYZ, but sometimes there is there's a big message in stillness sometimes, oftentimes. And sometimes the message isn't received until you are still. You could be doing 10,000 different things, but until you get still, you won't receive what you need. Can you imagine being the brains behind an organization? You can't be seen, you can't be known that is you. No, like you're treated less than. You're not shown the proper appreciation, respect, and that's the minimum. That's a song, my bad. Okay, listen. I don't know why God made me funny. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a time. I'm not playing. Anyways. Oh gosh. Now people gonna take. If you don't have a direct conversation with me, I'm sorry to tell you, you might always be offended because you run off and think what you want, but that's your prerogative. All I'm saying is to know me is to. Okay, I'm serious. I don't even know where that came from. That was a tangent. Y'all, everything we need, we have. There's more with us than against us. And despite what's going on, despite the heaviness that some of you may be experiencing, despite feeling unseen or out the way because maybe you can't keep up with your community as you once did, I want to remind you that if we do our part and we love our neighbors as we love ourselves, yes, it's going to get worse. Yes, people are going to turn against each other. That's all written in the word, right? But what's also written in the word is hope. That if one, we repent and turn back to God, a lot of these things that's due for us, we can skip out on, right? Because we turn back to God wholeheartedly, and he'll stop the destruction and everything else. But even still, right, there's the hope that community, us pulling together, we the people pulling together, will help us accomplish what we need to be accomplished in this earth, in this world. There's hidden figures in community. Know everything that we want to build. No, we don't need to put it online. Why? Because the same people online is the same people that you're not trying to build with sometimes. This is the same people that will want to intentionally destroy everything that you're trying to build. Nehemiah didn't go over there and start telling the ops, oh, we coming to do this. He went at night, analyzed the territory, took inventory. Okay, this still looks good. This doesn't. I got to tear this completely down. This needs to be redone. He took his inventory, had his notes, and he went to work. But he didn't tell everybody and anybody what he was doing. He only told who he needed to tell. And if you read the story about the book of Nehemiah, you realize he didn't tell many people at all. The internet is a great tool, right? It helps us meet different people and learn different things about different cultures. It helps us connect that way, right? There's a lot of sharing that's been going on, which is beautiful. Everybody's learning about a different culture and all of these different things. People are sharing the knowledge that they have. but it's the heart postures, right? The word, one of the commandments is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. If we don't realize that the neighbor that you may look down on because they're not in the position that you are, and you may look at them and feel like you're above them, or feel like you're ahead in the race or ahead in the game because you're in a different space than they are, but that person that you might look at as below or beneath you has all the tools and resources that you need to build or to supply what it is that you need. Can you imagine if the neighbors that lady went to ask for the empty jars looked at her and said, "No, we can't give you our trash"? They didn't tell her that. They just gave her the empty jar. Sometimes something so simple can have such a profound or large impact in someone else's life. Sometimes the people you look down on, just like in Hidden Figures, right? They look down on those women, one, because they were black, two, because they were black, one and two was because they was black, three, because they was a woman, they were women. I can go on. But if they would have stopped at their appearance, if they would have stopped because they didn't look like them, we can't say they ain't dressed like them. They was dressed nice in the movie now. But do you see where I'm going with this? The word tells us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And if we're too busy in our own way sometimes, in our own sadness or lows or whatever the case may be, how you gonna love your neighbor? There have been days where, yeah, I've been saying I don't go around nobody for two reasons. One, because I know if something, I know myself. I'm gonna leave it at that. I know myself, right? I know myself. So sometimes I know I need to be by myself. I know myself. It's still some things I'm learning about myself too, but I know myself for the most part. But it's still a lot I gotta learn. Still a lot I gotta grow into. And maybe that's the same for you. Maybe you're having to relearn yourself because now you're in a place where maybe you once worked all the time and now you don't have any work to do, right? So now maybe you're in your mind beating yourself up about, well, dang, I used to do this, I used to do that. And now you don't feel like you're doing well because you've been programmed to think that doing well has a look. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying you've been programmed to believe that doing well has only a certain look, and that there are not other ways for you to be doing well and not have that particular look that was programmed for you. Sometimes we don't realize that rest is doing well. The other day, one of the things that I read in the Bible that I thought was very interesting and that I don't recall hearing in church or in stories about Elisha. Excuse me. Elisha went and told Ahab that he was going to stop the rain for 3 years. You know what happened after he told him that? He was out the way for 3 years. He wasn't on the scene for 3 years. He told him that he was going to stop the rain. There was going to be a famine in the land. And Elijah was out the way. Ahab didn't see him for 3 years. 3.5 years. Ahab didn't see him. Until God sent him back to say something else to Ahab. Ahab did not see Elijah for 3.5 years after he gave him that prophetic warning that he was going to stop the rain and a famine was going to hit the land. He was gone. I don't recall ever hearing that in church. I thought Elijah was still on the scene doing. Now he was, of course, you read the book, you'll see that he was definitely doing stuff in the background, but he was out the way. Ahab didn't know where he was. Ahab was sending people trying to look for him. He didn't know where Elijah was. He had no access to him until God sent him to say something to him. I just wanted to come and hopefully give you encouragement for you to see and realize that we have hidden figures within our community. We have been the hidden figures, right? And in community, all that we need can be established. There are more with us than against us. All we have to be able to do is love our neighbor as we love ourselves. Of course, we're going to have discernment in doing that, because there are people that are definitely extremely very wicked. And some of them can pretend for a long time. Some of them not so much, right? Eventually their mask slip, and here comes their true selves, right? That's everybody. People get tired. Even sometimes I get tired of having to deal with the same stupid stuff from different faces, but that same spirits, them same few spirits jumping and circling. Azazel, right? What y'all remember that movie Denzel played in? He was that spirit kept following around. Same situation, that same demon. Every day I got to deal with it. Jumping from person to person, kid to kid, teenager to teenager. No, I can't say kid to kid. Teenager to teenager though. Them and up, okay? Don't be the babies, okay? It be the teenagers and up, young adults and up, okay? I ain't gonna say where I predominantly see them, because that's something in itself. Listen, all I can say is we got this, right? There's more with us than against us, and don't let the the struggles of today impact your tomorrow. Impact your today, actually. There have been many times where I didn't have, or I was trying to figure out how I was going to have. Even today, I was trying to get something accomplished, and for the most part, I got it accomplished. But then there are one or two things that happen, right? Somebody's messing with my banking stuff. Just all these different things, right? Stupid stuff. Being stalked, being hacked. People don't know how to leave well enough alone. They just have to be doing something, right? In your business, right? They swear they're not a fan. They're just in your business. But they in your business. They're not a fan, but they in your business. I don't know how that makes sense, but they in your business. And they love to think that they in your business. They tell you they ain't a fan, but they a fan. They in your business. Wondering about stupid stuff, but they in your business. They don't wonder enough to be like, let me give you this. But they want to be in your business. People will really do some strange things. So we do have to have discernment, right? We do have to be able to see people for who they are. There are a lot of people who will sit there and say all of these things about you, or do all of these different things, and they secretly dislike you. And it slips out their mouth every so often, right? Because they can't help it. It's just something that makes them feel good. But community can also help you feel good. The lady's neighbors was a big part in that story of the lady in the oil. She had that one bottle, but she was able to fill up all of those jars. She was able to fill up all of those jars, yes, because the prophet Elisha spoke, and it happened for her, right? But it happened for her because her neighbors also played a part. They were the hidden figures in that story. We know, of course, God gets all the praise, glory, and honor. But it's community. It's coming together. It's taking a stand and standing still. Even if you feel like you're not getting immediate answer or immediate results, it's being able to stand still. Everything that's standing still since God established it is still there, unmovable, right? That's how we have to be sometimes when we're trying to accomplish something in the earth. We have to get to the place where we're unmovable, where the different struggles, the different attacks, mentally, physically, spiritually, they don't move us. We have to get to the place where we're unmovable, where we can be still even in the storm. So if God has you right now in a place where it feels like you're still and you're not doing nothing, you're not being quote unquote productive as what the so-called world tells you productivity is, be still and know. Be still and know and trust that if God did it for you before, he can do it for you again. God wants us to rely on him. God wants us to be able to rely on him. And sometimes if we get to a place where we've been relying on ourselves, we've been relying on uh, sometimes even people or whatever the case may be too much, of course he's going to take it away because he wants you to realize it's him. It's me. Me as in him, me. Me been there the whole time. But we get so focused on somebody else's race, somebody else's walk, what other people have, and none of those things matter. But community does, especially if you can establish a good one, right? Community matters. That's the message. Hopefully you were able to take something from it. Hopefully it encouraged you. Hopefully it gives you a nugget to hold on if you have to hit the road where it feels like you're forced to be still, or you're forced to, not have a job, or you can't find a job, or whatever the case may be still and know that if you believe, if you trust in God, that you have everything that you need. And when you don't and you need the help, there's a resource for you. Even if it's trade for trade, right? Maybe you have a skill and your neighbor has a skill, and maybe neither one of you got a job, but you have those skills. You can barter or trade your skills. I'm not telling you to do nothing wild and crazy, but what I'm saying is you've learned something throughout your life that you can utilize in community to help build or establish something new. Why do we as the people have to wait for others to tell us it's okay to build or establish? If things are being torn down and broken down and you have the skill to build, why not build it? Of course, sometimes you need the resources. I know for me, there's some things I want to establish that I want to do. Being stalked, being hacked, being watched, and now they're messing with my bank accounts. Yeah, you need money to do stuff. But sometimes all you need is a mustard seed of faith. And whatever you don't have, maybe your neighbor does. Maybe your neighbor that thinks it's trash. But you have the mindset and the capability to turn trash into treasure. There were empty jars that lady was able to utilize. And she made something out of it. Maybe you have empty jars. Maybe your empty jars are your ability to, I don't know, crochet. Maybe your empty jars are your ability to fix stuff. Maybe your empty jars are your ability to paint, to create art. Maybe your empty jars are just your ability to encourage somebody else. Maybe your empty jars are just the fact that you can put a smile on somebody else's face. Maybe your empty jars is that you can help a senior in need. Whatever it is, and you get to the point where you feel like you're in debt and you don't have it and you need this and you need that. There's a neighbor that has what you need. There's a neighbor that needs what you have. A lot of people have stopped looking up, and that's a beautiful thing. Because now, if you have finished looking up, you can look within. And if you can look within and sit with what you see and work through it and filter through it. The other day, I took myself on a nice little outing. And one of the activities on the outings that I was doing was mining, right? You had to find the gems in doing the mining, right? Last time I did that I recall, I was in grade school, right? But it was a fun experience. I went and did it myself, 35. Went and did it myself, okay? Found a lot of nice gems, whatever. But you had to allow the dirt to be filtered through by the water. And you would see the dirt, long streaks of that dirt just sliding down the little uh, ramp, right? It's the water flowing through it. You dip the little tray in, you shake it, and you let all the dirt go through, and then all of the gems will reveal itself. Maybe you got to dig and remember, yeah, I do know how to do this. Oh, yeah, I got a neighbor, and they know how to do this. Maybe we can put these two things together, and now we can create something for the community. You don't have to always look up to be able to pull yourself up. Sometimes you need to look to your left and your right. And there's a neighbor that has what you need. Don't gotta make no immoral compromises. You just gotta be able to be resourceful. What do you have that you can pour into your empty jars? What is it that trying to tell you or get you to see that you can only find or see in stillness and or in rest? It's more of us than against us. We just have to be able to see who's with us. You have to be able to see that everybody's not your competition. Some people are your companions in the fact that these are the people that are going to work with you, that are going to stand still with you and make something out of nothing. That's all I got. It was longer than I thought it was going to be. But hopefully you got something out of it. Y'all know I talk in circles, so do it and get what you need to get and go on about your business, all right? But hopefully y'all have a great night. And yeah, I'll catch y'all next time, whenever that may be. Love you later.